Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. Now, today marks the observance of International Day commemorating the victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. So, this morning, inside your spotlight on Now, we have the president of the Interreligious Organization.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to it. We say good morning and welcome to Dr. Ellis Burris, the president of the Interreligious Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, as he joins us to give us perspective on religious tolerance. So good morning, Dr. Burris.
Good morning, and happy to be here to hear and to discuss the issues at hand.
We appreciate you being here because the observance speaks to the undertones of, or the realities of religious prejudice, if you will, or prejudice towards people practicing religion, and violence therein is an entirely enthralling topic that we probably need more time to skim through. But we will start by establishing in Trinidad and Tobago, what exactly is the difference? Let's say Tobago versus Trinidad. Is there a vast difference between the religious groups that exist in Trinidad versus Tobago?
Well, as far as I'm aware, there's an extension of all the religions that are in Trinidad. They are existing in Tobago.
Right.
The fundamental religions, as I know, are Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Hinduism. These are the religions mainly, and the Baptist faith that are existing on both islands. And Tobago, the numbers are increasing because people are getting to understand better those religions that exist and they want to be part of. So whatsoever exists in Trinidad as a religion, most likely you'll find it in Tobago as a offshoot of what is in Trinidad.
Right.
And the Baha'i faith is also a part of the religious bodies that exist. So we have Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, Baha'is, as the case may be.
Right. Our anthem says, every creed and race finds an equal place. It immediately speaks to what religious tolerance ought to mean, yes? How do we define religious tolerance then?
Well, to me, this is my personal view, religious tolerance is where another religion accept and respect the spiritual values and processes that takes place in another religion. So you can able to tolerate, because in the watchword of Trinidad and Tobago as a whole, it's discipline, tolerance, and production. Those are the national watchwords. So coming down into a religious body, we're supposed to have that tolerance existing in our religion. So far, there's significant tolerance among the religious bodies in Trinidad and Tobago.
That's good to hear, because interestingly, I thought of the contrast between Trinidad and, let's say, like the Americas, where despite the name, there is a lot of segregation that is virtually the norm in the US. So you're saying that from the perspective of the IRO, Trinidad and Tobago does in fact exercise religious tolerance, yes?
Significantly. You know that we enjoy as a group of people, when you have Diwali, or when you have Eid, or when we have our Baha'i Nowruz program or the Baptist Liberation Day, most of the religions that exist participate in each other as a function. And because of those are festive occasions. And at times, we just in Tobago last Sunday, which is on the 18th of August, have had a Tobago interfaith service. And all of the religions and churches that were invited attended and prayed significantly for the improvement of the spiritual and moral well-being of Trinidad and Tobago. So we are enjoying in this country a religious tolerance that is probably foreign to other countries.
Now, what you've described sounds as if it's religious tolerance within religious groups, despite their differences, that is. What about non-religious groups or non-religious persons versus religious groups? Do we see that same sort of tolerance being shared?
Well, when sometimes they are, but sometimes, you know, people are not always are not the same every day, and people tend to have some spike of wrongdoings, because to keep on the right path, to keep in a order of goodwill, you have to be praying every day. You have to pray in the morning when you get up. You got to pray sometime at midday, and you have to pray in the evening. And therefore, some people who do not really involve themselves in prayer seem to have lost their way sometimes and do some things that are not in accordance with goodwill. And we find those circumstances happening. And even some people who are religious, or sometimes circumstances lead the way. Unless you don't have that measure of maturity, you will do things that are contrary at times. So it is important that we involve our lives with prayers to invite the Holy Spirit to enable us to function in the best of ways, that it will be beneficial to humanity, to yourselves, and the well-being of the world.
Dr. Burris, you're mentioning that people without that guidance or that discipline of prayer will do things that are contrary to their religion. And I'm wondering how many instances, or if you were to quantify the instances of those sorts of behavior, would you say that we have a high instance of violence against religious groups or persons of certain religions here in Trinidad?
Not as significant as other countries, because from what I did, when the process came forward that I should have been on this program, I went through doing some research and to find out how, you know, other countries, what is happening in some other countries pertaining to religious tolerance. Mm-hmm. And from what I've seen, some government in some countries are involved in religious intolerance, and it spilled down into the country, and therefore the circumstances become worse there. But if you observe our government, it's probably a discipline, and I'm not saying that it's a discipline and a religious government. So therefore, it is one where we are tolerating all levels of persons, whether they are Black, white, Indian, regardless of Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, Baha'i. You can see there is a level of tolerance in our country, because in the opening of Parliament and in days where we have religious observances by the state, all these religions are involved in bringing greetings and praying for the nation. So in this country, religious tolerance is significantly well kept.
Now, I ask this, Doctor, because the day, as we say, is recognizing the victims, the persons who have survived some sort of violence based on their religious background, ultimately. And in our particular instance, we may not have outright violence. I wonder if degradation of sites or religious spaces would count then.
Exactly.
Because that may be the greatest instance that we can use as an example locally.
I agree with you with that, because some of the religious persons in the IRO reported that the churches have been desecrated and things like that. And that is where when I reference that there are persons who may by proxy do these things because they need to submit themselves to God and to pray in such a way that they can stay out of interference with religious systems or religious bodies, so they can be able to live comfortably in the area where people worship God, and encourage the Holy Spirit to dwell. So it is because of these little shortcomings, if we encourage our people to at least show some respect to the Creator of the universe, this small shoot up of destruction that take place in our religious places will subside, because anybody who is praying to God in spirit and in truth will not interfere with other religious bodies and their worshiping place of worship and their worshiping processes.
So that being established, that we may not have outright violent acts to persons, but desecration of spaces more so, how do we observe the significance of today? What does that look like? How does that take shape?
Well, for it to take shape, some action has to go on or take place within. It could be within and without, but nothing is actually. I have not planned anything specifically for this day, but I'm saying, live as a religious body or religious person, you know that this day exists. You will at least show some respect for the day that has been designated as for this purpose, and pray and ask the God to give assistance to our nation, or to give assistance to persons who may have gone astray, or persons who may not respect the values of religious people. So today, let us internalize and try our best to see how well we can appreciate each other from a religious perspective, and become tolerant of whatsoever religion may exist around you, and try to do good to all people and to be kind to yourself by doing those things that are right, that your soul can shine and shine brilliantly in the eyes of others.
Dr. Burris, I thank you very much for those insightful words and perhaps some direction on how we can observe or focus on the victims of survivors rather, as we are fortunate to already have a significant amount of religious tolerance established here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, significant. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom usually come by to ask us and to see whether we are tolerating each other, and they will ask questions, and all the members of the IRO will like we agree, and we express ourselves sincerely that there is a certain level of religious tolerance in Trinidad and Tobago that is not existing elsewhere. And it manifested itself last Sunday again when I was at the interreligious service at the cultural complex at the complex Shore Park, and every religion or every church that participated left that room or left that complex with a certain amount of joy, and that they understand each other's religion, how they pray, and how they interface with the various religious bodies and systems that exist. So
Beautiful.
it is for us to make the effort. If we make no effort, then we get no success. But once we make an effort towards being a tolerant group of persons or organizations, we can able to create that miracle that the world needs. World peace is what I am, at least as a member of the Baha'i faith, world peace is what the world is heading to, and it can only come through certain systems. I just want to remind us that even the government, every government individual or person working in the state, they have a religion. If we understand the basic concept of God and the wisdom that exists in spiritual development, then the world will change. Each of those governments have their persons there who have, your mother, your father took you to a church. They encourage you. You just deviate when you grow up, or you become too tight or too close within your religion, so you're not seen. But every one of us is imbued with the Spirit of God, and that is the overriding factor.
As we say in our anthem then, Dr. Burris, here every creed and race finds an equal place indeed.
Equal place. So
thank you so very much for joining us this morning. We truly appreciate, again, the guidance on how to continue to promote religious tolerance. And we look forward to chatting with you for other observations as the IRO continues to peacefully exist in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Don't be a stranger to the Now Morning Show.
Okay, thank you.
Of course,
it's
Dr.
a pleasure,
Ellis
and I want to wish you a good day.
Wishing us a good day. On behalf of the Interreligious Organization, as he is the current president, giving us some insight on how we can continue to observe religious tolerance as we do here in this fine Twin Island Republic. Guys, we are taking a break and coming back with even more giveaways, birthdays, and all your favorite things here on the Now Morning Show. We'll be back.